Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're good wherever you are. Today I'm going to talk about something that I promised you in the last video. Remember, in the previous video we discussed spirituality and religion, and I must make this clear to you that I am not a Christian, I am not religious, but something that I'm going to talk about is from the Bible. Because even though I'm not religious, even though I'm not a Christian, I have come to learn that there are scriptures in the Bible that make a lot of sense. And I have noticed that a lot of us, 99.9% of people in the world, do not understand these scriptures. And perhaps if we could understand them, they could save us. Now, the scripture in focus today is found in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. And the scripture says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." I usually like to rephrase this in a way that will be simple to understand. And this is how I phrase it. My people are suffering and dying because they don't have knowledge. When I was a Christian, I didn't take much note of this verse. I knew it, I heard it, but didn't think about it much. It was only after I came out of Christianity, way back in 1998, that I began to realize that there are some things that the Bible talks about that are happening. And years later, things happened to me, and I began to engage in a lot of research to try to figure out why they were happening to me and how I could avoid them or solve them. That's when a lot of truth opened up to me. And I realized that I didn't know the things I thought I know. I talk to people today and I still see myself in them. I hear myself when they speak. They think they know stuff and they don't know anything. So that's when this verse came into mind. And it began to make a lot of sense to me. I realized that a lot of people don't understand it, let alone know it. There are people who don't even know it. Some know it a lot, but don't have a clue what it means. My people are suffering and dying because they don't have knowledge. If you think about it, what kind of knowledge does this verse talk about? What is it that we don't know? What kind of knowledge do we have to know? Or do we have to have? One other thing that I realized that people, especially Christians and religious people, think they know who and what God is. Think they know who and what the devil is, but they don't. And that's just the beginning. In fact, that is the foundation. There's another scripture that says the greatest wisdom in the world is to fear God. I also rephrase that my way, that the greatest wisdom in the world is to know the real God. I rephrase it that way because I realized by knowing the real God, you begin to know the things that are godly and the things that are non-godly. So what knowledge must we have? And I think that is the start of it. That's where we must begin. We must begin by knowing the real God. We must begin by knowing who God is or what God is. Then the other stuff will follow. We don't know anything about politics, yet we think we know. And politics plays a very huge part in our lives. We don't know a damn thing about the economy, and we are suffering because of it. We don't know a damn thing about health. We don't know a damn thing about wealth. We can quote a lot of things that we don't know, that we think we know. And because we don't know them, we suffer a great deal. What makes us not know these things? What is at the basis of us not knowing these things? There are two things. One is the system. The system is making us fools, for lack of a better way. The system is making us fools. That's part one. Part two is our own ignorance, which in itself stems from what the system is doing to us. The system is making us ignorant. But the problem with us people is that we like to relax and rest on our laurels. We don't make an effort to dig stuff, especially stuff that is beneficial to us. So when we do not know these things, like the things I just mentioned and others, especially those, economy, finances, wealth, health, politics, nutrition, God, we suffer because of that. And it was because of the research that I did that I realized that I didn't know a lot about health. I didn't know a lot about religion. I didn't know a lot about nutrition. I didn't know a lot about spirituality. I didn't know a lot about the economy. But I could understand what is meant by economy. I could understand that there are economic policies. But to get deep into the subject was not something I thought I should do. And that's what I think we need in order to live better lives, in order to live with freedom and perhaps even with some level of success. We must dig this stuff. We must know the things we don't know. We must understand what we don't understand. If we think we understand these things, we must make an effort to check if we really understand them the way they are or the way we should. Let's focus for a few minutes on the issue of finance, health, wealth, and economics. The system itself, especially in this country, but as I observe, it looks like it's happening in the whole world. The system is designed to make the majority of people poor, which is what is happening now. A lot of people are poor, not because they want to, not because they are lazy, but because the system is confining them into a level of poverty or an area of poverty by making people think in terms of being employees. We don't know anything about business, which is one of the things that makes us suffer. We don't know a damn thing about business. And to some extent, sadly, there are people who don't even entertain the idea of business. That is the system for you. That is what the system has done to us. So when we don't understand the concepts of wealth, when we don't understand the principles of money, when we don't get the formula of being wealthy, how are we going to apply it in our lives to make ourselves wealthy and financially free? It's impossible. We have to know those formulas. We have to understand the principles. Then once we understand the principles, and then when we know the formula, we can apply that and we can change our lives. But because of our ignorance, we don't think that is important. I remember reading a book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad and Poor Dad. That's when I learned and I realized I don't know anything about money. And I'm not suggesting that I know now. No, I still have to learn. But at least that book has taken me from a lower level to a rather, perhaps a moderate level in terms of my understanding of finances, in terms of my understanding of wealth accumulation. It's not enough to earn money every month or every week. It's not. Considering the way life is now, the cost of living is getting heavier and heavier. A salary is not enough. We need wealth. But we can't acquire wealth when we don't know how to get there, and when we don't know what wealth means. We can't acquire wealth when we have this notion that money is the root of all evil. You see, this is how the system is getting us to ignore the whole concept or idea of accumulating wealth. Teaching us, programming us, brainwashing us that money is the root of all evil. I don't believe that. When people commit evil in the name of money, it's because they themselves are evil. They have been evil the rest of their lives. Money is just a tool that is triggering that behavior. It's not money itself that makes you commit the evil. The evil is in you, because money is an object. So these are the things we must know. These are the things we must study. We must spend our time learning these things. Hence, you don't find them in school. I don't care what level of education you have. You can have degrees, we can have honors and masters. They never teach you the formula to become wealthy. All the people who are wealthy that you know, for the most part, the majority of them, 99% of them, all the people who are wealthy are self-taught. They taught themselves economy, business, investing, wealth generation, and wealth protection. They taught themselves. They did not learn that in college, varsity, or whatever. No. The system does not want us to know that stuff. So it is upon us to wake up, to understand what that scripture means. My people are suffering and dying because they don't have knowledge. It is knowledge that can save us. Hence the saying that knowledge is power. But then there are people who say having knowledge and not applying it does not give you power. It's useless. You've got to accumulate the knowledge and then apply it in your life. That's when you're going to begin to see the impact of having that knowledge. And the good thing about it is, once you have that knowledge and you apply it in your life, you're going to affect people around you. Meaning people around you are going to benefit. Not all of them. Because the problem I notice is that people have the tendency to hold on to what they believe, even if it's not working. That is a big problem in our society. We hold on to things that don't benefit us. And for the most part, we reject things that are going to liberate us in any way, in any form. I can still blame the system on that part, but not in total. Because at some point we have to be responsible and say, I am to blame. I take full responsibility of my situation. I take full responsibility of the conditions of my life. Because all the resources are at my disposal. The information is available. And in most cases, it's free. Well, nothing is absolutely free, but you can spend less to acquire that information, to educate yourself. This is something I preach all the time. Educate yourself. Self-education is the most important thing you can do for yourself right now, in the era that we live in. We live in good times, we live in bad times. We live in good times in a sense that information is available. We live in bad times because distractions are growing. And a lot of people are distracted to a point where they don't even realize that all the things they engage in are meant to keep them there, to keep them in one position. If you spend too much time watching television, watching all the soapies that they have on television, by the time you wake up, you will have spent the whole year doing nothing. If you spend too much time on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, and you are not learning anything that is going to improve you, by the time you wake up, you will have wasted a lot of time that you can never gain back. So those are the distractions they created for us. And we help them by being ignorant, and we absorb all this stuff. We remain with no knowledge. We depend on the very same people who created the system. The people who created this system don't want us to advance. Don't let them lie to you. They don't want us to progress. They may bring stuff on television, bring stuff to our communities and say they are empowering people. You have to look at what they are doing. There's no way they can make us better when they know that once we become stronger, they cannot control us. They are keeping us where we are because they can control us. So it's all up to us. It's all up to you. It's all up to me to make it our mission to free ourselves from all this nonsense. But we cannot do that before we understand that we don't understand what we think we understand. We don't know the stuff that we think we know. My people are suffering and dying because they don't have knowledge. So if we can make it a point, if we can make it a mission for ourselves to acquire knowledge, we can save ourselves from a lot of pain, a lot of stress, and a lot of disappointments. As per usual, I don't want to say a lot, even though there's a lot I can say, just so that you don't get bored. Listen, people, Nobody is coming to save us. Hence, I like to quote the late Steve Biko when he said, "Black man, you are on your own." If you don't see that by now, you have a lot of waking up to do. You have to wake up. We are on our own. So to all the people who are Christians, to all the people who are religious, you got to understand that you know nothing. Even though you say you understand or you know God, you understand His word, you don't. You have to do a lot of work to get to that level. And you can only do that if you admit, if you acknowledge the fact that you don't know what you should. So there are important things in our life that we must know. We must go for those things. Unapologetically, we must go for those things without question, without doubt, without hesitance, without fear, because they are important in our lives. They can enable us to live the lives of our dreams. Once we figure them out, once we know them, once we understand them, and nobody's going to bring them to us and say, this is what you should know. It is our business. We have to take that responsibility. We have to take that action to free ourselves, to educate ourselves. And by doing that, we are also helping our children, generations to come. So the problem is not largely with the system. The problem is largely with us. We have resources given to us. The very same channels you watch, you can choose to watch shows that empower you. I mean, there's a lot of things that we don't know, that we should know. We don't know anything about technology. We only know how to use technology. We don't know how to invent anything. What do we invent? What have we invented lately that has revolutionized the technology? Nothing, zilch, nada. Because we are busy doing stuff that entertain us. Entertainment can only satisfy us for a short time. The next morning you want another entertainment, more entertainment. The next day you need more entertainment. So what do? You keep spending your time on things that entertain you. But if you engage in self-empowerment, self-improvement, that is going to satisfy you for the rest of your life, because that improvement is going to change your life positively. Okay, I don't intend to make a very long video here, but you get the gist. Subscribe to this channel. Share this message. Share this message, because a lot of people need to hear this and begin to evaluate their lives and what they do with their time. My people are suffering and dying because they don't have knowledge. May the force of life guide you, protect you, and enlighten you. Thank you.